is up, everyone? And we're back here for another live. Um, so on to tonight's show, we've got a guest. So we'll bring him up and get him rolling. What's up, Frank? What's up, Jermaine? What's up, Mr. Robert Reed? So we're going to bring up Michael Hansen, and what we're going to do, let Michael introduce himself and get things rolling here for a few minutes. We'll wait till everybody gets in, and we'll go ahead and bring him up on the stream. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys?
So we're gonna wait till everybody kind of gets in here, Mike, and get you introduced and let you talk a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie, it's odd being on this side of the live stream. It's not.
Yeah, you and Al do a pretty good. What do y'all do live streams whenever you?
It's typically Tuesdays, but it's actually funny. So how I started with that was literally he asked for someone to come on alive. And I was just like, yeah, I like talking fishing. Cool. And then it became a regular thing. Like that became a show. And it was just me and him bouncing ideas on when he started the Angler Outdoors. And it was just a matter of, he had some ideas, he bounced them off me. I come at it from the content creator side. He did some like, pro fishing stuff. So he's got a little bit of that side and the sponsor stuff down. And it just became a partnership. Like it's not like I'm paid. It's literally just I offered like, dude, I do editing and video technical
Right.
stuff. I work tech support, so I do technical stuff. So I'm like, if you need any help with stuff, just let me know. I'm happy to help. And then I became kind of a co-host it was completely accidental co-host deal. So
Gotcha.
and then I started doing my own because it was honestly just fun to interview people on the internet. Because let's be honest, if there's anything fishermen like to do other than fishing, is talk fishing. So
Oh yeah, certainly. We mainstream fishing and the Browns Bait Company, which is Brendan. They do a live stream together
yep.
on. So Jermaine, y'all going live tonight after the show? Y'all usually go around 9:30, right? I think they do. Um, so, but like Frank says, that's a good way for it to happen, man.
It's funny how a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff is come to be. Like honestly, I ended up like just because I thought it was funny, I ended up getting like Mikey Balls and Alex Rudd and and Bailey Eichbrett and like all these guys that are like big in the YouTube world. And it was just an excuse to talk to them for an hour, like I just
Yeah,
got guys that, and if you say, hey, you want to come on a podcast and promote your channel and my channel at the same time, and
certainly.
it's something I'm going to do a lot more in the wintertime because it's something where in the like I have an off season unlike you southern boys where you guys get to fish all year. I have to stop fishing from about December to March because of ice. So having that other stream of content, being able to do that is fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's there's a lot of guys doing it now, and what it only not only does it help you grow your channels and get a network of people
Yep,
built up, but
exactly.
what it does, it say if I wanted to visit the north for smallmouth fishing or
Yep,
pike fishing, then I can reach out to any of them guys. Say, hey, what's the best locations? What are they hitting this time of
yep,
year? Things like that.
absolutely.
So, but yeah, you talking about y'all's. I just can't imagine. I've lived in the South so long that I just couldn't imagine having a down season during fishing and not be able to fish.
Oh,
That's
I could tell you right now, my oldest has got 3 more years till he graduates from high school. In 4 years, I'm either selling this house or burning it to the ground, and I'm coming down your way. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I'm going to find somewhere that I can live where there's no off season.
so Jermaine says he's in the same boat. He's from New Jersey way, so
Yep.
he's
Dude, New Jersey fishermen are the grittiest. Like, you guys got to work. Like, it's not easy fishing there at all. It is tough fishing, and it's same deal. The wintertime sucks. Like New Jersey, you do get a little bit of there's some brackish and tidal stuff that you might be able to fish in the wintertime, but the bite is just so slow, it's almost not worth it. You pretty much got to switch to like trout or crappie or fish species that you can eat, get in the wintertime because bass are just done. They don't care anymore.
Yeah. So Mike, so tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, what type of fishing you like to do, what you fish from, things like that.
Sure. So it's kind of funny. I've been fishing my whole life, and I feel like that story is said on every live stream about fishing everywhere, but
Yeah.
there's literally pictures of me in my car seat, my dad's 17-foot Selvin, like out trolling for trout, like been doing it forever. When I was younger, it was the bank fishing scene. Right up until about high school, I used to do the whole load a backpack with tackle and a rod and ride my bike to the water and fish, which was, 5-mile ride. It wasn't like it was close. And then it kind of went away from fishing for a while. Got back into it because of a family camping trip. So my mom literally wanted to exercise, so she got a kayak, and she convinced my dad to get a fishing kayak. And he bought this like Walmart Pelican sit on top kayak, which to this day is the most terrifying kayak I've ever sat in my life because that thing was the most unstable kayak I've ever used. But we went to a campground, and the way this campground makes out is on the edge of the shoreline. Your tent site is the shore of the pond. So you literally can just launch your kayak right from your campsite. And my brother went out and he caught like a 3-pound largemouth. And we had been catching like little dinky bluegill, little dinky perch, and I ended up getting hooked because we spent the entire day on the water. Like after that, it was just the chase was on. My YouTube side, which is kind of how content creation started, is we also do the king salmon fishing thing on Lake Ontario every year because my dad's big into like trolling and all that. He has a 25-foot fiberglass that he goes out there with, and he always like would tell stories to his friends, and no one believes him because he's a storyteller. So I started recording it on little cheap Cam Park GoPros, $20 GoPros, and I made it as a Christmas gift. I edited the video down and put a soundtrack to it and made this cool little video for him to show his friends. And I liked doing it so much that it blew up into a passion for bass fishing and content creation. And also, I'm from Vermont, so people know about Vermont because of Champlain, but they don't know about the small bodies of water. They don't know about there's not really a true bass fishing scene here as much as you would think because Champlain is more of a trout, salmon, walleye lake. Bass are there, and there is obviously bass fishermen that hit the smallmouth scene and all of that. But Vermont's more of a trout fishing lake. So being from
Right.
here, I trying to bring content to Vermont that's not normal content that comes out. So
Right. Okay. So, what do you the kayak that you fish out of? What you fish out mostly? Like what
right
brand?
now it's an Old Town Topwater. It's the 106. It's actually a funny story how I ended up in that. So my original kayak was a Walmart Sun Dolphin, cheap kayak, $200 kayak. I was watching actually Alex Rudd's video about that autopilot that he had, and he was
Yeah.
talking about the weight capacity of it, and I realized that I personally was 100 pounds overweight for my kayak without putting my gear in it. So I ended up going to West Marine, and they screwed up their pricing. So they listed the pedal drive at the paddle price. So I paid $900 for an Old Town pedal drive
Yeah,
kayak.
that's that's a
So
steal.
I ended up buying that. I have an 18-foot tracker. I have a Tracker Pro Team, but I went to the Finger Lakes last year and I have a motor issue, and it was like 2 weeks before Labor Day that I got a motor issue. So there was just no getting into a boat dealer at that time.
Right.
And financially, I don't have the ready funds to just bring it down there because again, as I said in the beginning, I grew up in boats, and I know that you don't bring a boat to a dealership unless you plan on spending $1,000 or more because it may not be that much money, but there's something going on with the motor, and I don't want to even bring it down there until I'm financially ready to take that hit. So I've been
Right.
doing all my fishing the last half of last year and the beginning of this year strictly out of my kayak.
Right. So, what tournaments do you fish up there out of a kayak? Do you fish with a league or a
Yep.
club or?
Yeah. So I originally actually started out trying to direct a trail here in Vermont, but that kind of fell through. I didn't get enough participation, so I actually signed up for the MAKB, Massachusetts Kayak Bassin League. So I fished the Western Massachusetts division. And so it's that's what sucks about Vermont is, like I said, it's a trout state. So unless I want to do a big bass boat tournament, there is no kayak tournament scene up here. So I have to drive 3 hours to fish an event. And I
Wow,
don't
that's
stay, so I get up at like 1 o'clock, leave my house at 2 a.m., meet it for 5:30 captain's meeting, fish all day, and then drive home.
right.
It's brutal.
Yeah. So down here in the South, we have so many. Like the state of Georgia has so many clubs. There's several bigger clubs like Peach State Kayak Anglers, and you got the Georgia Kayak Fishing League. Um, then of course, SEGKBF. We do smaller tournaments. We don't
Yeah.
we don't host a whole lot of big tournaments. Just because we're located more towards the coastline, so any big lakes that we want to fish, you're going to drive 2.5 hours to
Yep.
or more.
Yep.
Yeah, so I know there's some. Do you fish the online stuff as well, or
Yeah. So I started out my first intro to tournament fishing was the KBF Challenge, State Challenge series. The problem I had with those was it's honestly it's subjective, but so I've competed in the challenge series for like 3 months in a row, and it was the same dude winning, and there was a couple of months where the guy who was in first submitted the same fish twice. It was obvious, like stupid obvious. It was the same bag of chips. It was half eaten, and where it was like you could just tell by the photo, and they all got a fish sheet like approved. So whoever was doing the directing or whatever wasn't paying attention. And I think it's because in Vermont, the average participation in the challenge series is like 10 anglers.
right,
So I have a feeling that whoever got put in charge of doing it, because I don't even think we have a tournament director here. I think somebody at KBF just drew the short straw and had to officiate our fish. So it kind of irritated me because that fish is what I lost by. So it was kind of like I kind of stopped doing it. And then I started doing I'll jump into like the free ones that like I'm in the mock one right now, that
right,
the lose mock one that they're giving away stuff. It's free, and if I place high, cool, I could win something. I do the Jigs and Bigs multi-species. I don't know if you've seen that or heard about that, but
mm-mm.
it's an interesting twist on a kayak tournament. So 3 hours, Frank, I'll answer that question. I didn't see that. Sorry. So for me, I'm in about the middle part of Vermont. So believe it or not, if you're not from the Northeast or this kind of area, 3.5 hours is only 100 miles. But because there's like a saying here in Vermont, you can't get there from here. It's literally you have to go like west to go north. You have to go around the mountains to get anywhere. So the time to get to places is how we judge distance because the mileage isn't really. But I was fishing my last tournament. I fished in Stockbridge, Mass. I fish a lot, like pretty much on the west coast, the Vermont side of Massachusetts is where most of my tournaments are. But now I got sidetracked on my question. But
No problem. But yeah, with the KBF stuff, and I know there's a lot of talk about the KBF right now with Chad
right,
Hoover and everything, and I'm not going to get in that rabbit hole
yeah,
like there.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a rabbit hole for another day and another year.
yep,
Uh, so, um, but they're talking about online tournament fishing, and I'm fixing to pull up on a second screen here for
yep.
us. Let me get everything split here. So I'm actually fishing in that mock series as well in the southeast bracket. And I'm like,
Okay.
I can't compete with Gene Jensen. Gene's got like 100, like the Fluke Master. He's got like 116 inches.
Yep.
And if I could fish every day like he does, then I would
Yeah.
be able to do it. But
Yeah, I think I'm in like 44th or something like
yeah.
that.
So let me pull up. Let me share my screen here, and we'll pull up that tournament. So this is the start out page. I'm logged on to. This is done on Fishing Chaos. If everybody don't know.
Yep.
Yep. So they've got this May series going on, and they got a June series going on. I think they're going to hold a July as well, because another big YouTuber, Noah Piscatelli, kicking their bass TV.
I think
He
Tyler Berger's in it too, right? Or
Yeah,
Tyler, Tyler from Real Fishing? I forget what his name is, but
yeah. So I spoke with Noah about all this when it was being put together, and we had a good conversation. And so, but as you can tell, they've got it broken down into different areas, like the Northeast
yep.
region. Casey Reed, you know,
It's
he's a
actually funny. Guy in 10th is a Vermont guy. I talk to him all the time, Jesse.
Jesse.
He's so the place that he caught all those fish. I'm fishing Saturday because of that. So
Yeah,
yeah, Jesse is actually a guy from up here.
yeah. So here's the Southeast region. There's some big, Gene Jensen, of course,
Yeah.
116 and a half inches. I know he fishes a lot on Rocky. I think it's Rocky Mountain PFA up there. It's a quality fishery for the state of Georgia. I know Jason Starley. He actually fishes the onlines that we put on as a club. He fishes the online. He fishes a lot of out of Lake Sinclair, which is Middle Georgia area. Um, but then you have a central region as well. These are pretty good numbers. I don't know what the central region consists of. I don't know what states. Then you have the big three. The big three, everybody knows: Texas, Florida, California.
Yeah.
Yeah, 117 inches.
I don't think I could do that without setting a record here, to be honest. I
Yeah.
don't think this.
Then you got the West region. So, but yeah. So,
The other one I do, as I was talking about, is the multi-species tournament, which is a
right,
completely different twist. So the way that breaks down is actually really cool. So you have all your freshwater species: bluegill, crappie, carp, all that. So if you catch a fish of that species, you get a point. And if you have the biggest fish in that category, you get 2 points. But there's only one person that can have 2 points per fish. So if I catch a 8-inch perch, right, and I'm in first, and you catch an 8 1/4, I go down to 1 point and you get my point. So
right,
it's more of like a scavenger hunt. And it's a lot of fun because you get those days that this suck. You can, like, screw it, I'm gonna go crappie fishing, or screw it, I'm gonna go catch some pike, or screw it, I'm gonna go, catch some bullhead, things like that. So it gives you a reason for bycatch, because you catch a pickerel or you catch a crappie while you're bass fishing, it actually means something. I was fishing Friday and caught a 10.5-inch rock bass, which took first place. Normally it would have been like goddamn rock bass and
yeah,
throw it away, but in this case it gives some meaning to some of this
right,
bycatch stuff.
yeah. I know, I know some clubs that do like a three black bass, like
Yep.
um, PSK, Peach State Kayak Anglers down here. They do a largemouth, a shoal bass, what else, and a spotted bass.
Yep.
So the shoal bass is the only fish throughout the black bass series that's only found in the state of Georgia.
I was gonna say I've never
So
heard of them.
yeah, they got a very distinct um, striping on them.
Okay.
They're very cool looking. Um, so Frank says 3 hours of driving to me, and I'll end up somewhere in Ontario,
Yeah,
even though I can go.
the problem with, like I said, the tournament series. I originally was gonna fish in New Hampshire, but I had a friend that I met on Instagram actually, and I was talking to her, and she was doing the Western. So the guy who directs the division, the MAKB West. So if you've ever, I'm sure you've heard of the Jigs and Bigs podcast. They're the ones that
Yeah.
put that multi-species tournament out. So Sean is the director of the Western Division, and I know him, and I know a couple other people over there, and I ended up just joining that one because what I like about that trail is it's a hyper competitive group of people, but at the end of the day, we barbecue and hang out at the ramp. So it's like the whole, hey guys, how's it going? Let's go fishing. And then you get on the water and you're like, I hate you. I want to kill you. I want to murder everybody here. It's hyper competitive and it's a really good competitive group. But then when you get back, you're like, man, fishing sucked. And then you joke and have fun. So it's more of a community trail. It's a small trail and it's a local trail, but it's more of a community base. It's not, the five guys that placed in the money stay and everybody else peels out of the driveway and nobody wants to
Right.
talk to anyone. So
Yeah.
it's a fun way to like be part of something different. Cause like I said, around here, I don't have guys that I can really, that's actually one of the reasons why I started doing lives was because I don't have a lot of guys to talk bass fishing with because everybody's all trout fishing up here. So
Yeah. Yeah. Down like um, we'll get Jermaine up here. Jermaine's asking Mike, what's your 3 go-to lures here up in the north?
Um, my number one is probably the wacky rig. Kind of tried true, works every time for me. That one is pretty much my standard. I do a lot with the chatterbait, which I kind of really discovered last year how to really fish it. I always had an idea of how you were supposed to fish it, and it didn't work, so I stopped using it. Then I kind of got back into it last year. And the third one is I take the like a Kitech or paddle tail swim bait, and I use those like belly weighted twist lock hooks and just run them, slow over cover or whatever. I like them just because around here we have a lot of milfoil and a lot of grass. Like by July, there's literally lakes and ponds that I can't fish after July. You just
Right.
the grass. What used to be a lake looks like a swamp after July. So a lot of the places I can't do, like a lot of people love the Ned rig. It doesn't really work here because I have 5 feet of milfoil. I have 5 feet of heavy grass. It's like fishing Florida almost.
Right. Yep.
So it's not like you can't do some of those baits. You can, but you're ripping it out of the grass all day and it's just aggravating.
Yeah.
So
So have you ever tried any type of like weightless super flukes by Zoom or in
I
that
do
milfoil?
yeah, I do I fish a lot of the funny part is actually a lot of times with the flukes, I actually use those more of a trailer than anything. I'll use them on like my swim jigs or my chatterbaits
Yeah.
because it doesn't affect the action, but you get that little tail whip. But yeah, no, I don't fish a fluke like as a jerk bait like you're supposed to. A lot of times I fish it more like a Texas rig. So I'll throw it, Texas rigged on like one of those twist lock hooks or regular EWG, but I'll mostly flip it into the grass, like kind of throw it up on grass edges and then kind of slow roll it a little bit. So it's kind of like fishing a jerk bait because I'll start, retrieve it, but I'm kind of like flipping it into the grass, let it sink, pop it a couple times, reel it a couple times, and then I'm yanking it back out. I'm not really doing the actual jerk bait kind of fishing with it.
Right. I fish a lot of the super flukes weightless.
Yep.
Let it, I'm throwing it on 12-pound fluorocarbon or 12-pound monofilament. Um,
Yep.
just letting it sink real slow. Get where I use electronics a lot, so
Yep.
so if I'm looking at fish suspended at 6 foot, 7 foot, I let it float there. Give it a few just a wrist action,
Yeah,
not
you
not
can't
even
you
jerking
can't hit those
anything.
hard because they'll flip over. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So it's Jermaine was saying that grass is up now up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it this year, I will say, the guys up here in the Northeast, and I don't know how. I mean, the weather is weird everywhere here, but what happened specifically here in Vermont was we went from I had a lake what I consider my home lake, it went from iced up, like skim ice, in 4 days to 60-degree water. It was the craziest transition because we had like 4 or 5 days in a row where it was like 85, 90 degrees. So for us, that's like midsummer weather, And in the shallows, granted, it wasn't that hot. The water temp wasn't that high out deep, but where the spawning flat is on this particular body of water, these fish were coming in. Like I was catching bass that had the squishy belly, like they were starting to eat up already. So they went from ice out to eat up, and then all of a sudden we went back to like 30-degree weather, and it just screwed the fish all up like really bad. Like I feel like it reset them. I don't know if that's even a thing. I'm not a biologist, but it was like they went from like the wintertime lethargic hibernation mode to feed up mode to like pause, where they just weren't doing anything. They weren't where they were supposed to be. You were having trouble trying to locate them, and when they did hit, they were doing that like almost like when like a pickerel or a pike hit, like that, like they're nipping at it. They're not really like smoking that bait like they should be in the pre-spawn.
Yeah. So Michael said weightless fluke side on all season. Hey, can't beat it, Michael. That's a good bait to go to all season. Mr. Baypat II said, grass wise, why don't we use this? Why not try the speed worm? You ever tried the speed worm?
I have
This is actually
never
a
tried a
custom
speed
speed.
worm, no.
Yeah, this is actually a custom speed worm. Just because it's a little fatter on the end. I like a little fatter speed worm.
Okay.
But this is the
Okay. Yep. I've seen those
yes,
before. Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of guys on Lake Okeechobee down in Florida throw this because of the lily pads, the grass,
Yep.
things like that.
I
So
could see throwing that on like a Texas rig.
yeah,
Just
um,
throw it and burn it. Yeah, I could see definitely where that would.
um, like a like a eighth ounce
Yep.
tungsten,
Yep.
um, and just burning it through the grass or just popping it through the grass.
Yep. It's actually
So,
funny because I have a bite where that home lake I was talking about. What's really cool about where you launch is lily pad field for like days. Like the whole marina area, like where you launch and come out, it opens up and it's just a narrow passageway between pads and grass all the way out to the main lake. And the only reason why that's even not locked up is because when the boats go out, it
yeah,
turns it all up. And I will take, and I may try it with that worm. A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll throw it into the pads, I'll let it sink, bounce it a couple of times, but then I'll burn it across the top of the pads. I'll do it with like a wacky rig, and it's funny how like they will come up unglued like it's a frog off that because you roll that
that's right.
wacky rig and then you hit that hole and you just let it fall off into the water and they'll blow right through that water because they're watching those pads and they start tracking it under the water, and then when it hits that open water they shamu out. Unfortunately, sometimes they miss it and then you're really mad because you see the size of a like 5 pounder come flying out of there, because it
Yeah,
seems like those top water bass, I'm sure it's like that down there too. It seems like anything that hits a top water always seems to be a girthier, bigger fish. I don't know what it is about them, but
yeah. Frank asked us in the chat, anybody also double up on a double fluke rig? Um, you know what a double fluke rig is, or a donkey rig, what a lot
yeah,
of people
donkey rig,
call it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Um, Frank, I've never really, I don't fish a double fluke rig. I just think I fish it a lot singly. Because I don't fish a whole lot of big lakes that have like herring or uh, gizzard shad and stuff like that. So I have caught a double on a hybrid hunter, the hybrid hunter made by Strike King. I did catch one last year.
Those are dirty. Those hybrid hunters are really good in like where there's like that 2 feet of water above submergent grass.
That's
You
right.
can like run those just like they're perfect because no matter how fast or slow you retrieve them, they just stay right in that zone.
That's right. Yeah, I've they make the big. They make a 3.5, and a
Yep.
3 inch. So it's. I think the bigger one goes to about 5 foot if you crank it real fast.
Yeah, you have to really, really pull on it. I have this guy that I actually met at a trade show. Well, actually, I can show you guys here. We'll plug him here. These guys right here. He does custom painted baits, so it's A-Bay Lure Lab. He gets this mega bass blank. It's actually a frog, but it's like this little bait, so that big, but it's actually a frog with 2 legs that go down, and that thing literally walks but stays 1.5 feet below the water. So if you slow roll that thing, it literally goes like this, but just below the surface of the water. And that thing is dirty in the grass because it's like it's like submergently walking a frog, but you just can straight retrieve it. You don't
Right.
have to do any rod action, and the fish just destroy that thing.
I'm
I
not
have no
just.
idea what it's called because he sent me a picture and he ended up just sending me one to try out, and it was just freaking awesome.
Yeah, I was grabbing my crankbait box here.
Gotcha. Yeah, but those hybrid hunters, I got them in like 5, 6 colors, and they work really, really well. That
Yeah,
bill design is weird, like it's unique. Yep.
that's. If I'm not mistaken, this design bill was a saltwater bait to begin with. The company went out of business. Strike King ended up buying them, and then Todd Classadine or Classadine or out of I think he's from Texas. Todd's his first name, but he designed this bait for Strike King, and because he had it in a like a pre-stage release. There you go, Castledine. Michael said it, Castledine, and he won the tournament on Lake Fork with it, and
What color is that? I don't think I've
this
seen
is
that color.
the green gizzard shad.
Okay.
I don't. Well, this is the other color. The other big one I threw. It's got a
Okay.
green belly. Yeah.
That's the other thing I think is funny about fishing is like as I sit here in front of a wall of plastics, like when you start bass fishing, you get freaking crazy with colors, and then once you hone down, you end up with green pumpkin and some sort of shad and some sort of black. Like you end up like paring it down to like 5 colors, but before
Yeah.
it's all done, man, you've bought every color under the sun, but then you figure out that I might as well just match what's in here and not mess around with all this weird stuff.
Yeah. Frank says I lost my drop shot weight to chasing smallmouth. I've considered rigging up a second hook down there, Frank. And I tell you this, and me and my uncle were talking about it. We were fishing the Savannah River, and he was talking about a guy in Florida did a double rig in a tournament down there. They were fishing on the St. John's, and he was fishing a drop shot here, and then he was fishing a shaky head at the bottom. So
Seen that. I've
yeah,
seen guys do it with the EWG Ned too.
that's right. I was fixing to say a Ned rig. It's just kind of funny that he popped
That's
that
funny.
question up there. That's what gets other fishermen's brains rolling. You're like, man, let me try that.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I've done some weird stuff. One of my most popular videos was doing weird stuff. So I had a bad day, like was not catching fish, was just sucking. And when if those of you who don't create content, when you don't catch fish, you not only have the anxiety of not catching fish, you also have the anxiety of crap, what am I going to put out if I don't catch fish in this video? So then you start thinking of stuff. So I actually took a buzz bait and I hooked a gilly to it. so that Berkeley gilly. So instead of
Yep.
using a frog, I actually took the wire and I bent it down a little bit so it would stay under the water more. And I nose hooked a Berkeley gilly with a buzz bait, and I had to blow up on like within 2 casts. And I'll I've drop shotted the Berkeley gilly. I've used like you start playing around with stuff like that, but I think they call that like rig X or something like that with the Ned rig. But I recommend if you're gonna do it with the bottom with the actual weight being a Ned rig, do it with one of those EWG Neds, because if
That's
you
right.
do it with the regular straight Ned, you're gonna lose even more because that hook's gonna dig in them rocks and you're never gonna get it back.
Yeah. So Michael Bradley said it was a Strike Pro. That's correct.
That makes sense.
That was the original maker of that lip. And I've searched the internet for that blank for the last 2 years.
Yep.
And I finally found it, and the company was sold out. So I've got to go back and look at that company because I want to send them to Brandon Brown's bait company and have him do some
That would be cool.
some custom jobs on it.
Yeah,
But you're talking about you're talking. I'm gonna get another box over here.
Sure.
Let me see. You're talking about taking other baits and doing different things with it.
Oh, I've gone down some rabbit holes, man. Bad. Like I said, I have an off season, so while you guys are out fishing in January, I'm sitting at this desk going, what if I take this and I attach it to that, and then I I tie a leader to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm always thinking outside the box too. It's
There's something gratifying about, even if you only catch one fish on it, doing something custom that no one else is gonna have, and then it actually works. It's like this whole accomplishment thing.
yeah. So Z-Man makes these. They're actually a chatterbait. This is
Yep, I've used those.
Yeah, with this is actually a jig head that's used for saltwater.
Okay.
So I guess a lot of saltwater guys said, look, the extra vibration off the chatterbait will work good in saltwater. So
Makes sense.
the saltwater guys come up with that. So all I do is I just take a swim bait
Yep.
and put on the back like a diesel minnow or a
Yep.
and so you get a little bit of different look besides that big bulky skirt coming off of that chatterbait. And
Yep.
so it's just thinking outside the box.
I did that with Queen Tackle makes that switchblade. I don't know if you've seen those, but Queen Tackle actually made a blade that has like a metal pin that you can attach to basically any jig. And what I'll do is I'll actually put it on like a 3/4 ounce like Arky jig, because they don't really make a chatterbait in anything other than half ounce unless you start buying like big brands or spending $20 a piece. I actually found one on Tackle Warehouse that was like an ounce, but so I use the jig one, but I'll yo-yo it. So I put it on like a 3/4 ounce jig with an actual craw trailer, but instead of like straight retrieving it, I yo-yo it, and that flutter of that blade
Yep.
makes it not only pop up, but it kind of like flutters down and it creates all kinds of reaction. And I think it makes the legs kick a little more because that water displacement
That's right.
and that's a lot of times like that's the thing that I try to like emphasize on my channel is sometimes like I have actually got to get it out of my head about like I'll fish behind guys in tournaments and I think, oh, they didn't catch fish there, so I'm not going to catch fish there. But sometimes, man, just the tiniest color difference, the tiniest
Yep.
way you work a bait will cause that 5-pounder that ignored the last 3 Senkos to hit your Senko. Like it's tiny little adjustments sometimes will completely change your day. I've literally done things like, as stupid as it sounds, I've made my leader line an inch longer and caught more fish. Like, why that made a difference, I have no idea, but it
Yeah,
made a difference.
yeah. So what I find about leader line is
I think his headset died on him. Technical difficulties. Lost some audio on his headset. Well, while he's messing with that, if you guys have any questions about Vermont fishing, my channel, feel free to ask. I'm all about, sharing information, so don't hesitate to throw questions at me. I'm here to talk fishing with everybody. Yeah, can't hear you. No audio there. That's really weird that it turned off. I wonder if it. Michael, yes. So we have northern pike and we have pickerel here. Less on the pickerel, more on the pike. We have gar and Lake Champlain, so we do run into a lot of those types of species. The pike up here aren't as big as, like the Maine or Canadian ones, but those are definitely a species that I pretty much catch every time I go fishing. And unfortunately, I also lose a lot of baits to them because they like to bite me off because I'm not fishing leaders because I'm not targeting them. But no audio. That's weird. His headset's messed up. Yeah, unfortunately, guys, I've had these troubles too. Sometimes StreamYard does some weird stuff. Sometimes you literally have to completely bail out, which I'm guessing what he's doing, and then coming back in. But yeah, gonna go grab something else. So I guess I get to hang out. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Like I said, I'm here to talk to everybody. I'll fill in the gaps. Um, I'm assuming a lot of you guys are from down south, though. I saw some people were from Maine and New Jersey, so definitely got a well-rounded group here. It doesn't tell me how many people are actually in the chat, so I can't unfortunately respond to the chat, but guessing he's going to get another headset or something that will allow him to talk. What's up, Dave? We're having a little technical difficulty, so I think he's coming back with a different headset. I can start to hear you now. There you go.
You can hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
I had to get an external mic.
Yeah, I've had that experience, so I always have backup stuff ready myself. Yeah, you got northerns in Maine for sure. You fish for trout. So I fish for actually a little bit of everything. So more or less, I target bass. That's my main species. That's my goal. My passion is to catch bigger bass. But I have started when the bass fishing sucks, or just having a bad day, or when I'm doing the multi-species series, I will go and catch trout. I'll go and catch. I actually caught my first rainbow out of a kayak yesterday. But I will go, I've even honestly, there are some days, especially when I'm doing the multi-species, I've literally been known to sit there with a ice fishing rod, a bobber, and a worm, and just sit there and try to catch bluegill on my kayak. It's actually a lot of fun trying to catch them from one of those ice fishing jig rods.
Yeah, we have Robert here. We finally converted him from a saltwater.
Nice.
Yeah, and so he fishes with us a lot here at the club, and he likes to catch panfish, brim, crappie, things like that.
Obviously my goal is always to catch bass, but at the same time, like, just catching 15 bluegill in a row on a night crawler with a bobber can be a blast as well.
Yeah,
Some
certainly.
days it's just the bass aren't having it and you got to wait. Like, a lot of times what I'll do is, if I fish the morning, I find here, and it might be a little different down there because the way the weather is always kind of warmer, but for us, it's like the bite shuts down around like 1 o'clock. It's done for the day. And then around 4 or 5, it picks back up until dark. But from like 1 to 4, it's really tough unless it's windy or you got some other inclement weather coming in to adjust the weather and the the sun. But that's when I'll like switch gears and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go troll. A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll throw a jerk bait off either side, and I'll just pedal around with the 2 jerk baits off the side of my kayak, because a lot of the times you can troll a jerk bait and walleye will hit it, pike will hit it, trout will hit it. All those species that I don't normally try to target, they'll smoke. I've caught catfish trolling a lipless crankbait. I don't know why,
Yep.
but so sometimes it's just you can't catch them, so screw it. I'm gonna get my exercise in and I'll run around.
Dang, Frank, I don't know what I'd do if bass season isn't open for 33 more days here.
Frank, where are you located? Are you? I'm guessing you're up north, New York somewhere, probably.
I think he might be in Canada.
So I know on the St. Lawrence, they don't open bass fishing until June. So it might be up that way, because I have that A-Bay Lure Lab. Those guys are in Alexandria Bay, but they're on the St. Lawrence, and they can't even target bass. Like, they can't, like, up here, we don't have a bass season per se. We have you can keep them or you can catch and release, but you can target bass all year. You just can't keep them until it's like the second weekend in May.
Why is that? Because of the spawn?
I don't even know, because that's what's weird. I would love to tell you why Fish and Game does some of the stupid shit that they do up here, but no, because most of the time, in my experience, the bass haven't even spawned yet up here yet. Like, I've seen beds, but I know they haven't hit that. There's a couple places that I fish that are like 100-acre ponds. So it's pretty easy to tell where they spawn, because there's only one shallow flat in the whole thing, and there's not that many beds in there. So they haven't even hit that yet. And that's a 100-acre pond. So if that's not ready yet, like, Champlain's definitely not there.
Yeah.
I think it's just I honestly think it's to keep the guys from ice fishing from cleaning out bass hard, because you can pull bass through the ice pretty consistently.
Right. Yeah, that would hurt my feelings if I couldn't fish for bass.
Dude, see, trout up here is the other way around. Trout are so heavily protected that if you catch one, you're screwed. Like, you got to get it back in the water if you catch them by accident. Like, they're harsh about it. But
yeah, so we don't have any trout fishing down south. We do have it in North Georgia, but they have a certain season on them up there.
And a lot of that's based on the spawn for that.
Yeah.
And see, up here, the state stocks trout. That's the predominant stocked fish. So, most ponds, reservoirs, Champlain they kind of stop, but is walleye and trout is pretty much all they stock. They don't do a bass stocking program because, to be honest, other than like Texas's share lunker program, bass stocking is kind of useless because bass will spawn anywhere, man. Like the freaking bass spawn in golf course ponds. Like it's not. They don't need help. It's just you can help with the genetics and stuff like that, but I wish they would pay a little bit more attention to the bass here because
Yeah.
there's a lot of I don't know if you guys get the whole like spraying the grass crap down there like we do, but they like
They don't. Our big lakes like Sinclair, Clarks Hill, Hartwell, up that away, the grass isn't too bad. But like when you get down to Lake Seminole, which is down on the Georgia-Florida line, where they, and then you have Lake Eufaula and all that over in Alabama, but they don't spray for grass.
See, up here, it's literally my home lake every year. It's coming up probably another couple weeks. So after Memorial Day, all the seasonal people that don't live here come up to their camps and they bitch about the milfoil on their shoreline, and then Fish and Game or whoever they hire comes in and sprays it. What pisses me off about that is that it's back in a month. Like whatever they use doesn't work because all it does, and the funny part is I've talked to guys about it. I'm actually trying to get a biologist from this area, like on my live stream to talk about it because they claim it doesn't hurt the fish. Okay, maybe it doesn't, but I can tell you they say that this specific spray is targeted at milfoil and specific types of grass. But every lily pad in that lake is brown and slimy. Every coontail is brown and slimy. And I literally find every time they spray, I'll go back there 3 days later. And mind you, this stuff is so not harmful that they put a big sign at the ramp that says no swimming, no kayaking, your dog can't drink it. And that's a pretty good gauge. If my dog can't drink it, it's probably not healthy.
Yeah, it's
and literally I will fish there right out. I stopped fishing there after, but literally I found dead catfish in this body of water after they spray. And catfish are one of the hardiest damn, like it's hard to kill a catfish. You put a catfish on the shore for 15, 20 minutes, throw it back in the water and it swims away. Like those are the hardiest fish I can think of, and you'll find every time they spray, I'll find 5, 6 of them belly up, and they're not pecked at, they're not damaged, they're just it bothers me. We actually had a town up here that like banned it against the state, and they won't allow them to spray. So they literally, the state filed for a permit. And the town said, we'll never approve a permit for spraying, so you better bring in a dredger or divers because we're not going to allow you to spray anymore.
Yeah, they Chatham County, which is the Savannah, Georgia area, they had a Lake Mare, which is the biggest county lake there is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use it. But they had a problem with some type of lily growing in there, and they spent like $22,000 with this machine.
Yep.
They hired a company come in there and just dug it all out and took it off. And but patches are coming back. You're never going to get everything out the water.
There's only one way. There's one lake here that I learned a whole history lesson on. So the place that I fished for smallies this weekend, they capped it. So they literally took this place, and those mats that they put on shorelines they covered the whole freaking thing for 2 years. They just blanketed this thing. It killed everything. Fish, frogs, grass. It killed everything. So they told me all the landowners banded together. They approved it. They signed off on it. Fish and Game signed off on it. They capped it. And then they literally have divers that go there every month and they actually take plant samples and they test them to see if they're because there's actually, I didn't know this, but there's more than one kind of milfoil. There's
Right.
Eurasian and then there's good milfoil.
Yeah.
And they've tested it and they've never had milfoil back there since. But they also pay someone to sit at that boat ramp 7 days a week, and they go to your kayak because you can't even launch a boat there. It's not that kind of lake. And they'll pull everything off your kayak before you launch, and they'll pull everything off before you leave. That's the only way to do it. So it's not feasible for Hartwell or any of the big, that's not going to happen. But
even if you look at Gunnersville, they have them big grass flat,
yeah,
but they like it over there in Gunnersville and Lake Eufaula. And
I'm a bass fisherman. I want it. Like,
Yeah.
I like it. To be honest, milfoil is like what I'm targeting. Like this time of year where that milfoil is starting to come up, you got open areas and then you got a clump right there. Dude, that's where those bass are. They're hanging out in that milfoil, waiting to ambush stuff around it. It's like easily the best place to fish. You drop a Texas rig, a wacky rig, a jig down the side of it. I love it as a bass fisherman, but it's like all these camps, they don't want it on their shoreline because it's not good swimming.
That's right. Yeah. Then you get, that's like us. All the northern people come down here to the south to vacation or have second homes down here because of the winter.
Yep.
All the south people go up north to go to New York and wherever, Massachusetts, and to vacation, and they want to swim in some cooler water. Because the water down here is 100 degrees.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't imagine. Yeah, like water temps up here last weekend, the warmest I found was 60.
Yeah, they're down in. I saw some the other day at 82 degrees down here.
Yeah, our fish would probably die if the water hit 82. To be honest with you, I think they would just give up.
Right.
When waters get that hot, we have to go that's where I start fishing the deeper, like Champlain. I start fishing rivers, stuff like that, because that's when you have to start doing the stuff that I hate doing, going out 40, 50 feet of water and drop shotting and doing all that finicky crap to try to find them, because you'll get the ones that live on the bank and they'll push up shallow to eat, but you're catching more rogue fish than you are.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine, I don't know. That's the one thing about my desire to move south so that I could have no off season is I don't like hot weather because I grew up here. So it's hard to get used to the thought that it would always be warm in the summertime.
Well, you could possibly move to North Carolina or
I was thinking
Tennessee.
Tennessee bubble there, some seasons and.
Yeah, Jermaine and them is fixing to start their live over on his channel, Mainstream Fishing. So he had to go get ready with Brandon and things like that. We've been going for about an hour, Mike. So we're kind of going to wrap it up here. So
absolutely.
If y'all don't mind, go over. He's got an Instagram, YouTube channel, Facebook.
All of it.
Go give him a like and subscribe to his channel as well. I'm going to talk about one more thing real quick, Mike.
Sure.
The American Angler Outdoors channel. You are a host with Al.
Host with Al. I guess partner. I don't really know my title, but yeah.
So he's got a channel over there, over on the American Anglers Outdoors. He puts content on as well. He is going live with everything this week, right? I believe.
I believe it's this week is the debut for content for the live TV stuff and all that. Yeah.
So if you hadn't downloaded the app, it's on Roku, Apple TV, Google Play Store, Amazon Fire.
Yep.
So if you're hunting to get content out there, you're welcome to go talk with Al. He's a great guy. He used to be a custom bait guy, didn't he, from Gray Goat Lures?
Yeah, he's the owner. He was the original owner of Gray Goat. Yeah, he actually sold his business off, and this is his new
endeavor.
Side venture.
I know he's working on some other content for Wednesday nights. I've reached out to him on Wednesday nights. So
Yeah, he's got a bunch of kayak trails from what I can tell that
Yeah.
are starting to join up and do stuff. I know he's the KBT guys. They
Yeah.
do like all those guys do a show.
Yeah, the Kayak Bass Fishing League or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, those guys, they have a bunch of different divisions and they all get on there and talk but yeah, it's definitely.
But
I guess I got to come down there at some point. Is what I got to do is I got to take a road trip this winter or something and come down and fish with everybody.
yeah, man, come on, man. I've got we got plenty of small rivers around me. We got I got some private places we can go. Got some public places we can go. So hey, and one more thing I want to put out there is the month of June, we're hosting another YouTube tournament for all the YouTube bass anglers. So that will start June 1st. It's on Tourney X as of now, so you can register. I think it's like $31.95 to register. So first, second, and third place will be, and big bass will be winners. Like we did it last time. We did April. We did one in April.
Okay.
So
and is that's a nationwide deal?
Yeah, that's a nationwide deal.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely in.
So,
yeah, I'll join up on that.
Yeah, it's on tourneyx.com. Just look up Southeast Georgia Kayak Bass Fishing, and you'll find the.
Gotcha. And that's standard, like KBF rules, 5 biggest and.
Yeah, 5 big fish.
Sweet. I'm in.
So, but thank you again for joining us on the live, Mike, and everybody. Make sure you go like his Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and I'm pretty sure we'll have him on some more in the near future.
Anytime, man. Hit me up. I'm always down to talk fishing. I'll probably have you on my lives this winter when I'm bored and I got nothing else to do.
Yeah, man. Anytime. I work a crazy shift, so I'm fixing to go back on night shift. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but thank you for joining again, Mike, and hope you catch some big ones this weekend.
I'll try for sure.